So today we are going to draw the floating table that goes with the floating stool that we did in our last video. So we're going to start with a top view. I'm going to go and click up there. We're going to go sketch on the top plane. We're going to grab our line tool, and we're going to want to make sure that it is highlighted on the center here, tied to that point of origin. We're going to draw a line like that. Now we're going to draw two vertical lines. You're going to light up one of the endpoints, and I like to start on the left, kind of go left to right, like you're reading. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to light this endpoint up. We're going to light that endpoint up and come across until we get these broken yellow lines that go from both endpoints. And we're going to drop down. I'm going to swing over here and light the other endpoint of my vertical line up and bring it over. So now the endpoints of these two lines are tied to each other on both ends. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my dimension tool, which is up here, or the D key, and I'm going to make this 60 inches. So we're going to 60, enter, zoom out a bit. We're going to make this 32 inches. And you'll see it automatically resized the other side. Now I'm going to come up and pick my point tool and my construction tool. So this is going to make basically a hypothetical point that doesn't show up in the final drawing, but can be used as a reference. And so I'm going to go and hover over this horizontal line until I find this yellow box that lights up, and I'm going to click. So that was the center point. Whenever that box lights up in the center of a line, that's the center point. And so we're just going to do that and create a center point there. Now I'm going to go back to my dimension tool again, and actually no, I take that back. My coincident tool. We're going to come to the coincident tool. We're going to click on that point, and we're going to click on either this right there. We're going to click on that center point, and it brings it over and centers that. Now, I also want to center these vertical lines, and the easy way to do that is go back and use our dimension tool. We know they're 32 inches. Half of 32 is 16, so we're going to click the end point, and then we're going to click on the center line, and we're going to make that 16 inches. 16, enter. All right, now we're going to go green check. Next, we're going to use our beam tool. So I'm going to get it here, drop down, click my beam tool, and it's defaulting to what I want it because I've already used it on the last drawing. And so ISO square hollow 40 by 40 by 2. And so we're going to go and I'm going to start by doing these. Yeah, I'm going to do the, I'm going to do this outside one first. So I'm going to click on that, and I want to pull it in because I want the outside to be 90, around 90, 60 inches. Whoops, I want to get rid of that one. I accidentally selected that center one. And I'm going to pull it up as well. So I rotated it around, so I pulled it up and in. So if I look at it from a front view here, it's on top of the line and inside of the line. So we're going to go green check. So now I need to turn my sketch back on. So I'm going to hover over the little eyeball, turn that back on. I'm going to get back to a top view because it'll be easier to do this from there. Go back to the beam tool. I'm going to select that end. I'm going to pull it in and up. So it's sitting on top of that plane we drew it on. I'll go back to top view, green check. Now, finally, I'm going to make this center beam there. So we're going to go back to the beam tool once more. We're going to click on this piece in the center. This one, only pull it up because we want it centered on that line. So we're going to pull it up, and then we're going to click this trim. So I'm going to go here, trim, select trim, and it defaults to planar faces to trim to, but we don't want to do that. We're going to go parts to trim to. So we're going to do that, and we're going to click these two end pieces, and that's going to trim our center beam to those two end tubings. And so now we're going to go green check, and we've got that base done. Next thing I'm going to do is go turn that sketch back off so we don't see it. So click on that little eyeball again over there in our menu, and it goes away. Now we're going to go front view, and we're going to do a sketch again, and we're going to do it on the face of this front tube here, this long tube. So we're going to put our sketch there. We're going to go back to a line tool and come in. Actually, it won't light that up right now, so we're just going to go and draw, and make sure that you don't tie it to anything on the existing drawing. So you don't want to have it hovered over, a center point or something. So we're just going to go up. We're going to make one. We're going to come across, make it, whoops. We're just going to come across, make sure that it's blue and yellow broken line there, meaning that it's flat across the top. And we're going to come down, and I'm actually going to highlight that, bring it over. So I've got that yellow broken line going between there. That'll make these two be the same height. We're going to escape our line. You can also hit the escape key, but with my recording software, hitting the escape key messes with that. We're going to go and grab our dimension tool. We're going to make this top piece 10 inches. And we're going to put these 32 inches apart from each other. And let's see, 60 minus 32, so I think that's 14 inches. Let's try 14 inches and see if that works. So we're going to go dimension. And actually, before we do that, I'm going to take the coincident tool, and I'm going to take this point, and I'm going to set it on the top of the tubing there. So now it's tied there. Then I'm going to do dimensions and click this end piece and our end point over here. And I'm going to make that, I think it's 14. Okay, and we do the same thing on the other side. All right, perfect. So we have the right length. So you don't need to do the second one. I just did that to make sure. So 14. Now we're going to use a theoretical point again, like we did on that other line to center it. So we're going to come up here and go point. We're going to go construction, and I'm going to light that up. See where I went right to that box. It's the center point. Click. Now I've got that, and I take my coincident tool, and I'm going to grab that, constrain it to that center line, and I'm going to make this 20 inches, I believe. Let's make that 20 inches. So we're going to go dimension from here to the top of the tube, and we're going to make that 20, enter. And so it's going to look like that. Green check. All right, now we're going to go back to our beam tool again. So we're going to go beam tool. We're going to select all three of those lines. We're going to grab our arrow and pull it in. Now you see they overlap, and they overlap down here. So we're going to need to do two things. We're going to go for joints, miter all. So when you do that, it automatically miters those, but then we also need to trim it so that it's not running into this bottom tube. So we're going to go back, we're going to click trim, and then let's move it. Let's see, so I got to collapse that so I can see my whole menu. Depending on your screen, you may not need to do that. Parts to trim to, and we're going to click this bottom part. Okay, next thing we need to do, which I didn't do before, is we need to pull it over so it's centered. So we're going to pull it that way. There you go. Now it's going to be centered on our bottom tube. We look at it from the side, and we can see that it's trimmed to the tube, and it is mitered, which are these angled cuts to make it all fit together. Green check. So now our base is done. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to get to a top view, and we're going to make an offset plane. So up here, this is the plane tool. We're going to click on that. We're going to click on our, we're going to click on the bottom plane that we had, our top plane, and we're going to go offset. We're making this 32 inch, 31 inches, I think. 31, 33. Hang on. Okay, I had to go back, apologize for that, and look at the actual dimensions. It is 33 inches that we want. So we're going to go and make that 33. Offset plane. We're going to go green check. Now, if you go and rotate it around there, you should have a plane that's hovering up above this piece that we had. So we're going to get back to a top view again. We're going to go sketch. We're going to click on that new plane, and it should be plane 1, not top plane. And we are going to go grab a center point rectangle. So we're going to do the drop down here, center point rectangle, hover over the center point, and pull it out. Next part is going to be super easy to size this. We're going to go and take our coincident tool. We're going to click on the corner. We're going to zoom way in here and find the very outside corner. It doesn't matter which corner you use, any one of the corners will work. But when we zoom back out, now we have a rectangle that fits over what we've got. So we're going to go green check. And then we're going back to the beam tool. And once again, the square hollow should be defaulting. And we're going to go around and click the outsides of that. There we go. We're going to click the outsides of what we just made. And now I'm going to make sure that I didn't. Yeah, it's working right. Okay, cool. Back to top view. We're going to take our arrow. We're going to pull it in. And we're going to rotate it. We're going to take this other arrow. We're going to pull it down. So now we want it on the inside bottom of that sketch that we just did. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to miter the joints. So click miter all, and it's going to make nice clean 45s on all corners. Green check. So now we've got our, now we have our whatchamacallit. Now we have our top frame for the table. All right, so next thing we need to do, we need to make our arch for the top. So we're going to go and take a left or right view, it doesn't matter. We're going to go sketch, and we're going to do it on the right plane. Then we are going to take our line tool, and we are going to come down like this. Make sure you don't tie these to anything yet. Come across, light up that other corner so that we make those equal to each other. Green check, escape. Okay, dimensions. Let's make this 10 inches, make this 32. And we got to make our center point on that bottom line. So we're going to go our center point construction, or point construction, find the center, stick it there. We're going to use our coincidence tool there, and I'll just put it on that plane. Now we're going to take and click on one of those. It will come. Okay, so we're going to go take that and constrain that to our tubing there. And we're going to take it again, click on that endpoint. We're going to constrain it to this outside line. And that brings it over. And the other one should be the same way. So you see it's on this kind of hypothetical point out there. So we've constrained it to this line and that line. Last step that we need to do is to set our distance. So we go to our distance tool, click that line on the bottom, and click this line here. And we're going to make that 20. All right, perfect. Okay, green check. Now our next step, we're going to go back to the beam tool. We're going to click, 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 drag it in. Okay, We're going to come and look at it from a side view. It is centered on that, which is just what we want. We want that in the center. So let's go back to a side view again. We're going to click miter all because we want that to be mitered. And we're going to click trim. And we need to rotate it around like this. We're going to trim to this piece. Why is it doing that? There we go. And trim to this piece. Oh, because it's on faces. I didn't want it on faces. So I'm going to delete that and go parts to trim to. I want to trim it to this piece, and I want to trim it to this piece. And that's an important distinction, guys, that planar faces, that is trimming it just to a face or to a plane. So you would use that if you wanted it to go around an object and not stop at the object. Here, if we say trim to this part, it stops it at that object. So we're going to go green check, and now we have our arches done there. So we're going to have our suspension chain here in the center, and we're going to have our stabilizing chains in these corners. Let's go to a top view. I think we're going to draw a wooden top to go on this. So we're going to go sketch and click anywhere on the top of one of the edges of the top tubing. We click on that, and I'm going to go with, I think I'm going to use a corner rectangle, and I'm going to just draw me a piece there. Let's see, if I'm probably going to do, realistically, making this maybe 2x6s on there, so 5.5 inches. We make this, go dimension, 5.5 inches, 5.5, enter, and we're going to go length that overall length is 60, and we give it maybe 3/4 of an inch overhang, half inch, we'll go with half an inch overhang, so we'll make it 61, enter. And then I'm going to go and put the dimension from the edge here to here, and we're going to make that half inch, 0.5, and we're going to do the same thing on this side, 0.5, enter, boom. And so now we've got this piece that has even disbursement around. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to try this and see how this fits. I'm going to use the linear pattern, and I'm going to, let's see, it's not going to want to do this as a piece because it's not grouped. Forget the linear pattern for now. We are going to, well, actually it might work. Let me try this. I go here, and here, here, here. Okay. So I'm going to make this one here, this X here 1. And that's how many it is. And then here we're going to make this one. Let's try 5 first and see how that fits on here. And now for the distance between them, let's make it 6 inches. So that spaces them out that way. Oops, this one stayed at 3. We wanted that was 1. Okay. That's not quite going to work the way we want it. We're going to space them out a little bit more. We don't have quite enough room to make another one unless we hung it over a little farther. So let's make our spacing 6.5 and see how that looks. Still not quite where we want it. We'll go 6.875. That gives it the correct spacing. Realistically, when we build these, we're going to probably have to custom mill some boards to make them a slightly different size. But for now, we'll go with it. We're going to go green check. So then we're going to go extrude, and the easy way to do it is just click Sketch 5 here in your side menu, and that's going to select everything that we've got. So Sketch 5, and we could go ahead and leave it at 1 inch, and we'll have it so it goes up. Make sure that it's going up like that, and we're going to go green check. And so now you have yourself a completed table that is ready to turn in. Remember, when you're sharing it, come up here to the share, link sharing, and you're going to have to enable link sharing, and then you copy the link and you can paste that into Google Classroom. If you have any questions, let me know, and enjoy.